What's up guys, my name is Ace, and finally we have seen some full raw gameplay from Modern Warfare 4 on the Killblock mode. And this is coming from various people that were able to stream this at the Fanatics Fest in New York this weekend, and there's going to be more gameplay coming out throughout the weekend as well. And so now that we've actually seen what it all looks like and how it plays, not just a few very short scripted gameplay clips, but actual raw gameplay, I wanted to share my initial thoughts and impressions based on this. And I did watch multiple perspectives, so I saw different playstyles, a bunch of different weapons. Altogether, I've watched several hours of this. And so I do feel comfortable sharing at least some of my initial thoughts and impressions based on this. Keeping in mind, there are a bunch of little details I also picked out, and I plan on having separate videos covering those things, like time to kill, for instance. I'm actually able to calculate the time to kill of many of the weapons, and I will be doing a comparison video. But for today's video, we're more so just focusing on the big picture general elements that I noticed. And diving right in, at first glance, when I first started watching this, I was getting a lot of Modern Warfare 2 vibes, especially when it came to the aesthetic of the game. And initially, that triggered a little bit of concern from me, because I definitely don't want to see Modern Warfare 2 2.0. But as I continued watching and I really focused on individual gameplay elements, especially things like the movement, like sliding, jumping, strafing, and mantling, for instance, as those were some of my bigger issues with the gameplay of Modern Warfare 2, it turns out this looks quite a bit different. So let's focus on the movement elements first. And after watching the gameplay, this is definitely not Modern Warfare 2 style movement. Now, this does depend on the perspective you watch. Not everybody was playing super fast and crazy like this, but this clip here does show that you can be aggressive with movement. You can incorporate slide cancels into your gameplay. We also saw from many other clips that mantling is super fast, for instance, and you can get around very quickly. You can aggressively challenge enemies so much more effectively than we could in Modern Warfare 2. And I'm really happy to see that, and I think many others will be as well, since that was a huge area that many people had an issue with in Modern Warfare 2. It looks like we're not returning to that when it comes to movement, at least. This is going to be a much more aggressive heavy game than that. But in saying that, with parts of the community, there has also been a very clear trend lately of burnout toward this faster style of movement. And we can really see this with the recent success and popularity of the classic mode in Black Ops 7, as well as the popularity of the Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2 ports. And the reception to those, outside of the technical issues and the cheating and everything, has been very positive, with so many people saying this is how Call of Duty should be, a lot more grounded, with a controlled pace where movement isn't the primary skill gap. And so if anything, with this Modern Warfare 4 gameplay, I don't think we're going to be seeing feedback from the community saying this is too slow and clunky like Modern Warfare 2. If anything, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of the opposite, where certain people are going to see this as being too fast and too much aggression, and they're burnt out from that after the past 3 years of pretty movement-heavy Call of Duty games. And so my initial thought here is I think they've now got a big opportunity, now that they've pleased the people that like a lot of movement and were worried that it was going to be as slow as Modern Warfare 2. I think if those people are taking a serious look at the gameplay, they're going to be happy with what they're seeing here. But then, in order to appeal to that trend that has popped up where people are looking for a more slower, grounded pace, I think there's a big opportunity to incorporate the classic mode at launch for the game. And if they were to announce that leading up, I think that would make a lot of those people feel a lot better about potentially buying Modern Warfare 4. And I know this has been mentioned by several people in the past, but I think it is a good comparison to Fortnite with its build versus no build mode now. Where with that game, things generally started off pretty basic, but over time, people got really good at building, and the game ended up catering to those people, and it created such a high skill gap when it came to building and the mechanical skills surrounding that, that it ended up pushing a ton of players away, because that's not why they played the game, was to see how well they could build while fighting. And so they ended up bringing the no build mode into the game, and that became very popular as well, and still exists to this day after, I think it's been a couple years since they incorporated that, because it appealed heavy to the people that still like Fortnite. They just didn't want everything to be all about building. And that sounds very similar to what Call of Duty's been going through with their movement, where it's been getting faster and faster, and they've been supporting that skill gap to the point where it has become more of the dominant skill gap in the game, and a lot of people are really into it and really like it. So if they were to just remove that, kind of like they did in Modern Warfare 2, that makes a ton of those players upset. So I don't think they can go that route, but I do think this movement is going to be too fast for a lot of people in the community. And so I really think having a classic mode confirmed at launch that's also confirmed to be permanent throughout the game's lifecycle would be a huge win for the people that still like Call of Duty and want to play Call of Duty, but it's just gotten too fast and they don't like the modern pacing of Call of Duty. It would at least provide them that place to go where they could have a solid experience that's more reminiscent of the older Call of Duty games that they know and love. So those are my thoughts on movement. I'm just happy it's not going to be a Modern Warfare 2 2.0 situation when it comes to that. In saying that, though, the next thing I want to talk about here, and one area that it seems they did largely retain from Modern Warfare 2, which I'm not a fan of, is the visual recoil and visual obstruction while firing. So this includes things like the muzzle smoke, the gun shake, the camera shake. After watching all of this gameplay, those areas still seem to be pretty reminiscent of Modern Warfare 2. Now I know they have made some changes here, like they shared a couple days ago how they now mask the center of your screen when it comes to the muzzle smoke. So at least in the center of your screen, you're not going to be seeing heavy muzzle smoke at all. So you can see exactly what you're aiming at, but still the smoke around that is very opaque and also creates kind of like a strobing effect on your screen because it is so bright every time your gun fires. Additionally, from what I've seen, for many of the guns at least, they're bouncing around like crazy, like an unrealistic amount, at least for a trained soldier firing a gun that has a stock on it. I feel the guns are just bouncing around a little more than I'd like to see, and then there's a fair amount of screen shake there as well as you fire your gun. And when it comes to this, there is a fine line between making the guns feel really powerful and impactful and punchy in your hands versus balancing that with gameplay clarity and readability. Based on what I've been watching with the gameplay so far, I do feel they're still leaning too far in the direction of Modern Warfare 2, with there being a bit too much of that unnecessary visual obstruction when firing your gun. And that is that combination of muzzle smoke, gun shake, and screen shake. And this one clip in particular was really blowing up and getting spread around a bunch because it seemed like every time he was firing a shot, it was almost like he was getting flashbanged. It was that bright and crazy. Although, side note, this also shows off the new smoke effect that they brought to this game, where he's actually shooting through a smoke grenade, and you can see the hole appear in the smoke grenade, kind of similar to the CS2 style smoke system, and I think that looks really cool, but that's just a side note. When it comes to that flash, especially on the edges of his screen, that was insane. But thankfully, Infinity Ward confirmed this instance with this particular weapon and attachment combination. That was a bug, and they actually tweeted that they've already fixed this, and they even went to the same location on the map and showed before and after, and it is definitely looking better after. But I would say more importantly here, Infinity Ward also confirmed that based on feedback that they've already seen, they will be reducing the opacity of muzzle smoke across the board in the game. And this is excellent news. I'm very curious to see what this ends up looking like and how much they reduce it. I hope it is a very notable reduction to that, so it no longer feels like there's that distracting strobing effect, and also so that it feels more realistic to what you'd actually see with modern smokeless powder. And with this, I know there's a bit of a cynical view going around in the community, and I understand where a lot of the cynicism's coming from, but a lot of people are saying they did this on purpose and left this heavy muzzle smoke in on purpose at first, so that they could then say, hey, look, we're listening, we're going to reduce it now, and that's just an easy win for them to make it look like they're responding to feedback. And while that may be true, I also have my doubts because first impressions are very important, and it just seems unlikely to me that they would sabotage their first impression just so that they could get that little PR win for saying, look, we're listening to feedback. I do think it would be a better move to just not have that in the first place so that the first impression when people see it is, wow, they actually changed this or fixed this for Modern Warfare 2. Instead of, this looks like crap, I hate this already, I'm not buying the game, which I have seen a whole lot of floating around already. So either way, they are making an adjustment here, and I think that's a good thing, not a bad thing that they are making a change. However, that change does only cover the muzzle smoke. I am curious to see if they're also willing to be looking into that gun shake and maybe screen shake a bit when firing to tighten that up a little bit. Because overall, based on what I've seen at this point, that's the primary area that was standing out to me as something that I didn't like what I was seeing. And those were honestly the two main areas that I was focusing on. However, there's several miscellaneous things I wanted to just talk about here as well. The first thing is the Killblock mode itself. This is looking like a lot of fun. I can't wait to get my hands on this. I'm definitely going to get some enjoyment out of that. But at the same time, I'm also not really huge into single life round-based game modes. And so I think that hype for me is only going to go so far with Killblock until they start bringing respawn game modes into Killblock, which they have already hinted that they plan on doing that after launch at least. But after seeing some gameplay on this now and the size of the Killblock map, I think this could actually work really well for some respawn game modes like Team Deathmatch or Domination, for instance. So overall, I'm really happy with what I'm seeing so far when it comes to Killblock. Next up, well, I did say that I'm going to have a dedicated video looking deep into the time to kill in this game. I did want to at least briefly mention it in today's video. Based on the values I've calculated so far, keeping in mind it is still a work in progress for me, it does appear they're leaning more in the direction of the faster modern style time to kill, so leaning more toward Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 2019, rather than Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops 6, Black Ops 7, which tend to be a little bit on the slower side. Generally, it takes you about an extra bullet to kill in those games compared to Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 2019, so this game is going to be a little on the faster side. And for me, I always say I can take either style of time to kill. I think they each have their own pros and cons. But one thing I will say is I don't think it meshed super well having fast time to kill with a lot of movement penalties in Modern Warfare 2. That's a bad combination in my eyes. Whereas in this game, it seems like we've got the faster time to kill, but also better movement techniques. And I think that tends to be a better combination because they sort of keep each other in check. Like, you have a lot of options for aggressive play and aggressively challenging people that are just posted up on a head glitch or sitting in a corner, which is excellent with a faster time to kill game. Otherwise, those players gain too much of an advantage. But then on the other side, that movement doesn't take over quite as much as with a slower time to kill because it's easier to put those people down. You don't have to land as many shots on target as they're performing these crazy movement techniques. And so it's like I said, I think that combination just keeps both playstyles in check to a degree, and it also makes for easier one-shot kill balancing. So I'm not really seeing any major issue here with the way that they're handling time to kill in this game. I think it's actually going to work out quite well based on my initial impression, keeping in mind, of course, I still haven't played the game yet, and all of these impressions are subject to change once I actually get my hands on the game. But after that, I also noticed things like you can throw equipment pretty quickly here. There seems to be a lot of interesting weapon combinations as well, keeping in mind they're playing gunfight style game mode, so they don't get to select their attachments. Instead, it will just give everybody the same predetermined attachment combination. But there's definitely some interesting builds that I was seeing there in these gunfight style modes. And then since we have only seen Killblock in the gunfight style modes, we didn't really get to see everything with how the overall multiplayer is playing out. But if I just combine what I've seen with the fact that we already know that we're not getting the charging perk system for Modern Warfare 2, we are getting the proper minimap back with actual red dots appearing without a UAV in the air if anybody fires an unsuppressed gun. Also, a big one is they have confirmed we're getting a ninja perk in the game, and that's something we haven't seen for the past 2 Infinity Ward titles, and it has been a big issue that I've had with the game as it's heavily rewarded more stationary playstyles, while feeling like it often heavily punished you if you wanted to actively move around the map. And to me, that's the opposite of what Call of Duty is and always has been, since this style of a perk was a staple up until Modern Warfare 2019. But basically, with that knowledge and combining that with what I've seen here, this does look like it is going to be a very nice improvement from the past couple Infinity Ward games, at least for me and for what I look for in Call of Duty. I realize there's a whole lot of opinions in the community. There will be some people that strongly disagree with me on that, and that's totally fine. I think everybody kind of wants different things because Call of Duty has gone in so many different directions over the years, and that of course leads to them attracting people that end up wanting totally different things while still liking the same franchise. But overall, for me, what this means is my impressions are generally quite positive as long as they make those appropriate adjustments to the visual recoil and that muzzle smoke, for instance. I am curious to see what that looks like post-patch. But at the moment, that's my primary concern, and I think that's pretty good to have as a primary concern with the game. Everything else was looking quite good to me. Of course, at this stage, there are still many big questions up in the air that need to be answered before really fully making our mind up on this game. And just a few of those would be the 6v6 map design as well as spawns. Spawns are going to be a huge part of the game, obviously, for respawn game modes, and I haven't been a fan of how Infinity Ward has handled spawns in their past 2 games. So curious to see what that ends up looking like. Also, matchmaking and disbanding lobbies, what are they going to be doing with that? They have confirmed that they're not going back to just using the pre-Black Ops 7 matchmaking, which sounds like good news, but we don't have any details on exactly what their plan is with that. They did mention they will be discussing it before the launch of the game, though. Another thing is how the perks are going to be balanced, what the streak system is actually going to look like. At this stage, we've only seen kill streaks, and it may end up being the case that we only have kill streaks, but I suspect there may be a little more to it, and I am curious to see if we have, like, Specialist, for instance. Is that going to be a possibility in the game? Also, will there be any potential to have score streaks rather than kill streaks? Again, at this point, we haven't seen anything suggesting that, but it doesn't mean we definitely won't be seeing that, so I'm just curious to see more about the system. And another big one is, what's the aim assist going to be like as well? I know a lot of people have been asking about that. Are they going to keep the nerfed aim assist from Black Ops 7? Or are we going back to the Infinity Ward style aim assist that we had in Modern Warfare 2, which is noticeably stronger, especially in those closer range engagements? While it's hard to tell just based on watching gameplay, it does seem like they've just got the Modern Warfare 2 level aim assist, so noticeably stronger than what we're experiencing in Black Ops 7, but I definitely can't say that with absolute certainty, especially since I haven't gotten my hands on the game for myself. But there we go. That's pretty much everything that I had to say after watching all of this gameplay. I am definitely feeling quite optimistic overall. It does seem like they are being receptive to feedback, and I'm really just not seeing any glaring issues outside of those visual effects while firing your gun. Now, of course, these are just my thoughts, and I am very curious to hear your initial impressions based on what you've seen with the gameplay so far. Is this something you're liking the looks of, or perhaps not? And if so, what specifically are you not liking about the game? I am very curious to see some other perspectives here. And if you guys enjoyed this video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.